A couple of weeks ago, World of Tanks finally got released on the Switch. It's been 3 years since the Switch launched, and I've always wondered how or why such a popular free-to-play game wasn't available on one of the best-selling consoles ever made. But now, it's finally here. I used to play World of Tanks a lot on PC back in the day around 2011 to 2012, when it was still a pretty new game. So I was really eager to be able to play this on the go without having to compromise and play on my phone using those awful touchscreen controls. What's being released on the Switch is in fact World of Tanks BLITZ, which is the mobile version and not the same game as the one that's on PC or even other consoles. It's kind of disappointing that it's not the same version as the other consoles, and it being a mobile game would usually mean that I wouldn't even want to poke at it with a stick, but given how much I used to play this back in the day and, after all it's free, I just had to try it out. So, is this game actually any good and should you play it? Well, the good news is that in terms of gameplay, this is actually pretty awesome. There is little to no difference from what I remember from the PC version in terms of the tank controls, the way it shoots, and so on. In fact, many of the maps that I've played are ones that I remember from the PC version. Matches are shorter with only 7 tanks per side instead of 15, but the basic gameplay and tactics are pretty much the same. When the round starts, you take position and try to spot and shoot at enemy tanks while trying to deny good shots and angles to your own tank. Having played this on a phone a couple of times and struggling with the touch controls, being able to play with a gamepad is pretty good. It's not perfect, and I actually wish I could use the D-pad to move the tank around, since the Joy-Con isn't super accurate and, sometimes I move in a way that I didn't intend to, but it's not too bad. There is a very generous auto-aim, which is actually a positive thing since it allows you to track an enemy tank without having to constantly adjust your joysticks. Having played this with the mouse and keyboard, the controls never got in the way of me taking a good shot on PC, so auto-aim is basically a way to recreate that within the limitations of the Joy-Cons. There's also gyroscopic aiming, which is very handy and works really well. I've played maybe 20 to 25 battles so far, so I'm still in the very early stages of the game, which means tanks are very light and mobile, with not a lot of armor or firepower. But that doesn't make the battles any less interesting. I've had some pretty intense ones where I managed to turn around a 1v4 by using better tactics than those of my opponents, which is, kind of what you want from this game. Now, I have to say, I don't know if there are bots being passed off as actual players, but the skill level of some of the enemies that I faced is just awful. I've had plenty of tanks run away from me while exposing their backsides, which is usually the weakest spot, and I've had several enemies have 5 or 6 shots bounce off my armor without really trying to shoot at some other part of the tank to get better penetration. That seems to change later in the game when you start getting into better tanks with people who have obviously put more hours into the game, so they are better at it. As you'd expect from a mobile game, this is pretty much completely covered with premium currencies and premium passes and reward crates, daily missions, experience multipliers, and a whole lot more. The main menu is always trying to notify you of discounts and more ways in which you can spend money in the game. It's pretty awful and even does the whole, hey, you got a reward, but you need a premium pass to claim it. That sort of bait and switch, trying to trick you into buying a premium pass. It's bad, but the question is whether you can enjoy this without paying, and I think the answer is definitely yes. If you're unfamiliar with World of Tanks, there's a progression system where you pick a nation, get a tank, and upgrade that tank's parts to make it better, or grind currency to unlock the next tank. There are several branches ranging from light tanks to heavy tanks or to tank destroyers, which have a fixed cannon instead of a turret. Grinding for a new tank can be very time consuming, and that's where having a premium pass can go a long way at making things faster and easier. However, if you enjoy the core gameplay, then playing the same tank over and over again shouldn't be a problem. At any given moment, you should have a pretty good range of different tanks to pick from if you want to switch up your style. Except for premium tanks, which you can only buy with gold, everything else is pretty much attainable by just playing the game. Some tanks are absolute garbage when you first unlock them, meaning that you have to suffer them in battle until you get the cannon upgraded, or even until you're finally able to upgrade to the next tank in the tech tree. This was exactly the same way on PC, and I think the reason for this is, balancing the different tiers for each different nation, but it's also probably a way to get people to buy a premium pass to get out of their shitty tank faster. Different nations have different strengths and weaknesses that you need to discover and adapt to, which keeps things fresh for a long time. You don't have to engage with the microtransactions and payments to have fun with this. Will you win more if you do? Definitely. But if you enjoy playing the game for what it is, then I don't think that really matters, especially because this isn't a 1v1 game, so you're bound to have roughly the same chance of finding a premium tank user on your team as well as the opposing one. In terms of graphics and performance, this isn't exactly a masterpiece for the Switch. Graphics are alright, nothing spectacular, the game seems to run fine. It looks okay when playing handheld, but not so much when it's blown up in a big screen. I've run into several bugs like tutorials getting stuck, and I was actually unable to use my old Wargaming account on this because the main menu would simply not load correctly. So I had to create a new account using my Nintendo ID, and that worked fine. As it is, I think this is a great game to have on the Switch. It's fun to hop in and play a few rounds every now and then. So while this won't be taking the top spot for my most played Switch game, it will definitely stay installed. Now, if you have a Switch and you're wondering should you play this, I would say definitely. This is a really fun game. It is completely filled with the trappings of a mobile game. It is constantly trying to get you to spend money, but if you are fine with that, if you can say no to that and, carry on, then definitely give this a try and hopefully you have some fun. And if you did, hey, leave a comment down below, tell me what you think about the game, and if you play this on your cell phone, leave a comment as well, let me know what you think about it. Okay guys, that will be all for now. Next video will probably be a Hella Loose related thing that I'm working on, so stick around if you want to see that. Make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. But for now, thank you for watching, and I hope I will catch you in the next one.